Coming to you from the Eon Project Studios, nestled in the forests of Harrisville, Rhode Island, the epicenter of paranormal activity in the Blackstone Valley. You're listening to Experts of Nothing with Mike and Jay. Michael?
Hi.
I think we would be remiss if we didn't talk about that intro for a second.
We didn't mention the intro. We had a new intro last week. We didn't mention
it. But why is Harrisville, Rhode Island, Michael, the epicenter of paranormal activity in New England?
If you believe in such things.
If you believe in it.
So
explain it.
I know that it goes back to the Conjuring franchise, which actually, it's a good thing you mentioned it, because a new Conjuring movie in the Conjuring universe came out this week, and it's called The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It.
Oh.
Which is a movie that it was one of those weird, we talked about it on the show before, those weird hybrid gets released on like HBO and in the theaters at the same time.
Yes.
It was one of those. And so anyway, to go back to the original thing, Harrisville, Rhode Island is the true home of the Conjuring house.
Correct.
However, people are often disappointed to find out that the house used in the movie was not in Harrisville, Rhode Island, but was actually in North Carolina.
Correct.
But so the house in Harrisville, you would know, you live near it.
But yes, in the Harrisville home, actually, the famous, infamous home, is only a mere 5 to 7 minutes from here.
Yes, a mere.
It's on the Burrillville, Rhode Island / Uxbridge, Massachusetts border.
Burrillville.
And it's not far from here at all. And as a matter of fact, I've driven by it a few times.
It's less than impressive, isn't it?
And it's a very unassuming, old farmhouse. Mm-hmm. But if you do your actual research, and people have done their actual research on this topic, it's complete nonsense.
Yeah, so we actually, off the show, we do converse, both Jay and I, and then also with our friend Brent and his sidekick Luke, out at the from the Black Lodge crew on their show, we do like an email chain and a text chain, and we did share an article about this. And this guy, you read this article, and I wish I had his name because he did a great job. But this guy went through this elaborate research to try to explain
historical research
to try to explain the parts of The Conjuring where they discussed all the bad things that occurred on this property, and he basically debunked all of it.
Correct.
He explained everything as being nonsense. And have you ever, you and I, we've been friendly and friends with and acquaintances with people in the paranormal world for many years. What happens when you question anything?
Oh, they get angry.
They get so angry.
And they shut you down and they treat you like crap.
They do, and they get all huffy and become angry.
And here's the thing, and this harkens back to the origins of the Eon Project, as well as Mike and I's belief in the paranormal, right?
Right.
We believe in the paranormal, guys.
Yes.
We believe that there are strange things out there that we can't understand.
We've experienced strange things.
Exactly. Outside of the norm
of
everyday normal activity, if you will.
If you will.
But we like to bring truth and light to actual events and debunk stuff that isn't true.
Right.
Because the stuff that comes out that isn't true, and we see a lot of it nowadays on TV and YouTube and things of that sort, is it discredits actual research and actual evidence that may be out there.
But, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like there's one of two. Most people fall into one of two categories. They either don't believe anything ever, or they're 100% invested in it.
Right.
And if you question it, they get angry with you.
Yes.
So, but we're in the middle.
Yes.
And there's not too many of those folks. I know because I've gotten into discussions with people, the Ghost Adventures people and the Ghost Hunters people and the people that have basically built their identity around being these paranormal people.
Correct.
The minute you question anything that they've done, they freak out on you.
Yes.
And you go, "What? Why are you so angry?"
It happened to me recently when I got into a Facebook kerfuffle.
A kerfuffle. Donnybrook.
About demonic possessions in human beings. And my thing is, like, I just had a different perspective and a different point of view than this one individual.
Right.
They couldn't accept that.
No.
Nope. They got angry. They started
hurling insults
hurling
at you.
personal attacks at me, calling me fat and short and ugly.
Here's another thing. And this is not related to the paranormal. It's just related to social media in general. And there go the dogs. People are far more courageous nowadays at insulting people.
Yes.
Because they know that they're probably never going to see you in real life. I hearken a guess, and our audience doesn't know what Jay looks like. Most people wouldn't say that to your face.
No.
I have to
No, and when you
say
Yeah, because I'm the type of guy that I don't operate in rumor and innuendo and things of that sort.
Right.
So and it happens in everyday life too. Like we all have careers and jobs and things, and there's different things that occur within that space. That sometimes you say to yourself, you know what, I'm gonna go have to have a conversation with a person about this.
Sure.
So when those things happen, I go out of my way to, make contact with that person and try to talk it out and have an adult conversation because I can't stand that sort of stuff. But anyway,
yeah. Anyway, so the topic today we actually haven't mentioned, and it's probably a few minutes into the show, which is normal for us, unfortunately. So we're kind of sticking to this vein of these ethereal topics that are just basically discussion points.
Yes.
Where we can dazzle you with our knowledge and our breadth of experience and all that.
And that's another fun word to say.
Breadth?
No, ethereal.
It's ethereal.
Ethereal.
It's esoteric.
Oh. It sounds...
Anyway, our topic today is going to be death.
Death. And it kind of, believe it or not, it dovetails into our previous topic.
Sure does. It sure does.
Which was God.
God was last week.
Yes.
We talked about God. We talked about versions of God. What is God? God. There was a guy that used to play for the Providence Friars basketball team.
Yes, he did.
And his name was God Shamgod.
That's correct.
I bet that's a tidbit of knowledge.
They had a God Shamgod, and then they had an Abdullah.
Abdullah, yes.
Yeah.
God Shamgod and Abdullah.
And an Austin Crosshair.
Really?
Well, it was Crozier. It was Crozier, but it looked like Crosshair.
Yeah, I remember that. It
was a weird.
So we're going to talk about death.
Yes.
What death means to you and me and everything. And before we get into that, I do have an experience that I want to share with you.
Go.
So today, I don't normally venture out of my palatial air-conditioned home on days like today that venture into the upper 90s.
Yes.
But I did today because I wanted to get a cold beverage from an establishment.
What kind of establishment?
Don't worry about it. So, my experience comes in this. Today, I caught a glimpse of the most elusive group that you've ever heard of. I found out where the elders of Oldham hang out.
Okay.
On a Wednesday at about noontime.
Well, they can't. They must be in the air conditioning. Otherwise, they'll drop dead.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
Yes.
Have you ever been to a McDonald's restaurant at like 8 in the morning on a weekday?
I hate to admit it, but I have.
Who's in there?
Old people.
Old people.
Yes.
Old people. There's nothing but old people as
They
far
like
as
their
I
coffee.
can see.
They have the McDonald's coffee.
They have their McDonald's coffees, and they have their little circle.
Yes.
And they talk. So, and I always assumed that this was the extent of their reach and their power. However, today, I was driving through a parking lot. They had constructed an Illuminati circle in the middle of a parking lot with lawn chairs.
What were they doing?
They were drinking coffee, hot coffee, on a 90-degree day.
What kind of a parking lot was this?
It was the McDonald's parking lot.
Really?
Yes, I swear to God. And to make matters worse, I was going to videotape it for posterity.
Oh, you should
and to
have.
share. No, I tried. I brought my camera up surreptitiously, very, very slowly, because I didn't want to anger the Illuminati.
Yes.
One old codger saw me and was making gestures towards me that I was trying to tape them. So I had to hurriedly put my phone away.
Oh, you know who doesn't like being videoed?
No.
Is the old people.
The old people.
They get angry because they don't understand the...
They think it steals their soul.
Yeah.
When you videotape
It does.
them.
Speaking of stealing souls, we're going to get into the topic, and I noticed this demonic idol staring at us.
I put that there today.
Why did you do this? Are you summoning something?
No, so if you can't see the studio right now, but where Jay is closest to Jay, he's with all the equipment, all the high tech, all the vacuum tubes and transistor radios and things that he has over there, and I have placed a Mayan idol.
Yes.
On the precipitously on the corner of the desk.
It's a clay sculpture of Quetzalcoatl.
Quetzalcoatl.
Is it Quetzalcoatl or is it Kukulkan? Which is the Mayan and which is the Aztec?
You're asking the wrong Mayan.
It's the same god because they had their cultures were very similar.
Quetzalcoatl is the same god as Kukulkan?
Yes, it's like saying Apollo and Zeus are the same person. They just had a different name for them.
I see what you're saying.
But I forget which is
there was
associated
a warlord
with which.
named Kublai Khan, but that's different.
Kublai Khan?
Kublai Khan.
Oh, what about yeah. So anyway, let's talk about death.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about death. And so we talk about death. We talked about God last week, right?
Yes.
So if you're a religious person, and obviously God oversees everything.
Oversees.
And when your physical body, we talked a little bit about our physical visages
Yes.
last week as well, and what we each think happens potentially, or what the atheists believe, and what people who believe in God and us who are kind of in the middle, what happens when your physical body dies.
Right. It's a topic that most people think about on occasion.
They do. You wouldn't be human if you didn't think about death and what happens after death.
And there are people who say, I don't care if I die, but I think they actually do. I think most people, probably 99.9% of people.
Most people do, unless you're a sociopath.
Yeah, I don't think they care very much.
No.
So I think a lot of your concept of death and what happens to your physical form after death have a lot to do with what we talked about last week, which would be your conception of God or the some sort of ethereal being. So and again, I think we started last week by talking about our Catholic upbringing, but we have to go back to that.
Yes.
Because your formation of your beliefs happen when you're young.
Correct.
And you whether fortunately or unfortunately, you tend to take the belief system of your parents and whatever they believe. And I think that was true for the both of us, probably true for most people. Based on the Catholic version of what happens to you after you die, according you've been up on the Catholic
Is that a word?
the Catholic doctrines
Yes.
more than I. What according to Catholicism, what happens to you when you die?
Well, it's all contingent on how you lived as a human, though, as a human being.
Yes.
Right? If you lived, in the vein of someone who was trying to be godly,
Yep.
and sinned as little as possible, or even if you did sin, you were repentant.
Only the penitent man will pass.
Of your sins,
Yep.
and you were truly looking for forgiveness from God. Eventually, you would be at the hand of God in heaven.
Right.
Once you passed on.
What if you were a bad guy?
Well, then you would go to hell.
Okay. Now, you said something very important there that in your little soliloquy, and that is this. One of the things you said was you need to be repentant.
Yes.
For your sins.
Yes.
That is a key component.
Correct.
My question is, and I don't want to get into specific doctrine. Well, maybe whatever. Who cares? But pardon me. Do you need to be repentant while you're still alive, or repentant upon death?
No.
In order to receive.
Well, from what we understand, which is why Catholics go to confession.
Yes.
Which I hated.
Yes.
As a youth, because we were forced to do this.
You know what? I don't know that a lot of people that are outside the Catholic Church know what that actually is.
No,
they don't. Should I explain it?
Yeah, we'll explain it quickly.
Oh, okay, so it's a sacrament of reconciliation.
Yes.
Meaning your sins are only forgiven if you go in front of the priest and you tell him what you did.
Right.
And he sits there and he nods knowingly at you.
And we've all seen it in movies where you go in a little booth.
We didn't do it that way.
No.
We had to sit in a chair.
You had to sit in a chair.
And he'd look right at you.
Right at you. Right at you.
So he's looking at you, and you tell him that you swore at your mom.
And you beat up your sister.
Yep, and you had impure thoughts about...
I never said that.
About Denise Austin. Anyway, so you say these things, and then the priest will go, okay, go back to the pews over there and say 10 Hail Marys and 10 All Fathers.
Wait, before that, though, what did you have to do?
Oh, you had to say the act of contrition.
The act of contrition.
Which is this long prayer.
I don't remember it. Do you?
I remember it, yes. I'm not going to recite it.
Oh, my God, I'm heartily sorry for having offended you.
That one.
Yes, that's all I remember.
So you say the act of contrition. He gives you the price you got to pay, which is saying the prayers, and then you go on your merry way. And supposedly, according to that, your soul is now clean. But what about non-Catholics? What happens if or lapsed Catholics? Let's say you're a Catholic, right? You believe everything that the Catholic Church has to say.
Yes.
Then you die. But you didn't go to confession in the previous year because you just didn't. Yes. What happens to you?
Well, I think if in your heart, in your soul, you can truly express your remorse.
So then why do I have to go tell the priest then?
And that was one of the things that always bothered me. Who's the priest?
What is it?
Who the hell is that guy?
Right.
He's nobody.
Like God doesn't know if I'm sorry for what I did or not.
The priest isn't talking to Jesus.
I got to say it in front of this guy?
Right, exactly.
He wasn't thinking about what I was saying anyway. He was thinking about his golf game or where he was driving his Lexus.
Yeah, he's thinking about the all-you-can-eat chicken buffet at the bocce club. Where he's going to go, what he's going to do.
Who he's going to see.
But and that's part of the problem.
I don't
with
get
this with this whole thing.
Anyway, so I know we're kind of getting off in the weeds, but it's an important topic because depending on what your belief system is, that influences what you think will happen to you when you die. Exactly. So that's just the Catholic part. So you're going to be sorry for what you did,
right?
and in your heart. So, but the thing that always popped into my mind was, okay, everybody takes Adolf Hitler as probably the most evil man in history, right? Or one of the most.
Yes.
If Adolf Hitler on his deathbed, which actually wouldn't have worked because he shot himself, but right before he shot himself, he said, "I'm sorry for what I did,"
and he truly meant it.
And he meant it,
and God knew he meant it.
Right. So that does that mean he goes to heaven?
Yes.
Right.
According to the Catholic Church.
Right.
Because he was 100% truthful and repentant.
Does that make sense?
All of his sins, he would go to heaven.
Does that make sense? That does not seem fair.
It doesn't seem fair.
Because you can be a jerk.
For somebody that forgot the words to the act of contrition, goes to hell, and Hitler goes to heaven.
Again, doesn't make sense.
That's not right.
But what about outside of Catholicism? Let's just say Christianity in general. So according to Christianity, which means you believe in Jesus Christ as being the savior of the world, you believe in that most Christians believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Jesus died on the cross to save everybody's life, to take away the sins of the world. Excuse me, and in doing so, paved the way for you to go to heaven. But that leaves quite a bit of room for interpretation, because now does that mean that he already paid for my sins, so I can do whatever I want? I can drive the wrong way on a one-way.
No.
I can shop it. I can go into Chick-fil-A on a Sunday. I can do all the things.
More than 12 items in the express lane?
Yep.
Nope.
Or lately, with the COVID arrows. Did you ever obey those COVID arrows?
I purposely went against them.
Me too. And people would give you the dirtiest look, man. You go down like the cereal aisle and you're going the wrong way.
I still don't understand the concept behind that.
Because COVID will catch you if you're going that way and not that way.
I don't get it.
The whole COVID thing is a source of great consternation for me, and we haven't talked about it on the show, and I don't think we're going to. But it's ridiculous. The good news is it's ending. It seems like
there's just a quick story. There's a gentleman that goes to the I use that term loosely. That goes to the same workout establishment that I go to.
Workout establishment.
And I have I don't know this man.
Beefcake Jim.
I've never said one word to him. I have the most disdain for any person I've ever had in my life for this man. He comes in looking all pretentious.
Uh-oh.
And he's got his little fingerless workout gloves on and his big old headphones, and he's bald-headed. And he always wearing his mask. And nobody in the gym is wearing the mask anymore except this guy.
Okay.
So he comes in the other day with his all mask-laden, and he goes right over to the squat rack. And there's only 2 squat racks in there.
So it's contested territory.
It's contested. And what does he proceed to do?
What?
Curls in the squat rack.
You know what, man? I have to confess. You're a much bigger gym goer than me. But I have been to the gym many times in my life. I used to curl in the squat rack. I didn't know that was faux
No, it's
pas.
a thing. It's a thing.
Now it's a thing. But I feel like for years ago it wasn't.
You just didn't know, though.
I didn't know any better. Now I don't do that. Now I get it, because
Yeah.
it's a sought-after piece of equipment that people want to use. And to curl in the squat rack is now akin to like kicking a baby.
Yes.
Can't really do that.
Yes, it is.
Anyway, so you don't like the guy with the
I don't like him.
mask.
I don't like him. He does a lot of weird, strange maneuvers in there.
Well, devil's advocate, sir.
Yes.
What if he has an immunodeficiency and he needs the mask to survive?
Well, it's possible. But
if
you
he's
should explain
Bane?
that to me.
What if he's like Bane and he needs the mask to keep his face in, or whatever the hell?
Possible.
What was Bane's deal? Like he needed to have the mask
He
on
had to have that little mask thingy.
to like breathe. Like was his face so jacked up that he needed?
Talk like
You know what? That was a great movie, except for the fact that he talked like his head was in a fishbowl.
I like Tom Hardy, though.
Tom Hardy's great.
I have a man crush on
yeah,
Tom Hardy.
I know that you do. Tom Hardy is a pretty good actor.
You know who else I have a man crush on? Not to
deviate.
deviate or delve off of the topic.
Yes.
So I've been watching these. I think it's on A&E. It's these biographies about professional wrestlers, like old school professional wrestlers.
Sure.
And the one I watched recently was The Ultimate Warrior.
Oh, wasn't he a Von Erich?
No, he was not a Von Erich.
I thought he was a Von Erich.
No, and for years I thought the same thing because it was before Google.
Right.
The Google machines.
Right.
And we didn't know.
Because he looked like a Von Erich.
But his name was Hellwig was his last name.
Hellwig?
What the hell was his first name?
Hellwig and the Angry Inch.
John Hellwig? Paul Hellwig? Something like that.
Sounds made up.
No, he's a real guy. Oh. But anyway, he started out his career as a bodybuilder. And the reason I bring this up as a man crush is because I loved The Ultimate Warrior.
Ultimate Warrior was pretty badass.
He was one of my favorite wrestlers of all time.
Didn't he have like the weird speech pattern? Like he would come and go, "I am going to throw you into the ring."
Yes, they all talked like that. But he was like that. Yes,
he didn't have a personality. He was just like a roid rage.
He was roid rage.
He was a walking roid rage.
But he's very mysterious. And I remember going to the back in the day. I went to the Providence Civic Center to watch professional wrestling.
Yes.
And this is when the Ultimate Warrior was in a feud with Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Oh.
And I got to see a very special match. It was Ultimate Warrior versus Bobby the Brain
Bobby the Brain Heenan was not a wrestler, though.
He wasn't. He was a manager, but that's why it was an extra special event.
That would be like me fighting Mike Tyson.
And if the Ultimate Warrior won this event, he got to take because Bobby the Brain Heenan was known as the Weasel. I don't know if you remember that.
The Weasel, yes.
And he was able to stuff Bobby the Brain Heenan in a giant weasel costume and threw him out into the audience.
Are you joking?
No, I'm serious.
That sounds great.
Threw him into the audience, and I was right there with my Kodak disc camera, snapping pictures of it all. It was awesome.
And you got it developed at the photomat? Remember the photo
I
mats?
never got the photos developed, and now they're lost to time
lost
and
to
history. Oh, man, it'd be great if I could get those
Remember
back.
those photo mats, like those little booths where you had your film developed, and it looked like it was so small, like a human being could not fit inside of it.
Correct.
And there was somebody that had to stay in there for 8 hours a day and develop your film.
My friend Keith and I, when we were kids, we used to ride our bike around.
Yeah.
And we went and bought a dozen eggs one time and started egging random places. And one of them was the photo mat.
So we only had a dozen. It's not going to last.
We pedaled
Your
up
reign
to
of terror would not
We pedaled
take
up to
very
the
long.
photo mat like we were going to drop off some film. And the guy's like, here, give me a film. But we threw some eggs at him and pedaled away.
And you thought you were cool.
Yeah.
Now you're just a jerk.
It's awesome.
Anyway, Wicked devolved off of
No,
it.
well, it was, this is all death related because the Ultimate Warrior died.
Oh.
So he got inducted. So he had a big falling out with Vince McMahon. And I'm telling you this story as an adult who has watched the biography story, not as an adult who watches professional wrestling. I outgrew that many, many moons ago
Some people haven't.
because it's fantastical and is stupid.
It is.
But the biography story, he had a falling out with Vince McMahon, but then they kind of made up, and then he was inducted into the WWE Hall of
What was
Fame.
the falling out about, do you know?
Contractual issues. He thought he could be bigger than Hulk Hogan, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, he wasn't going to be bigger than Hulk
But anyway,
Hogan.
so he was inducted. He had the induction ceremony, and then 3 days later, he died of a massive heart attack.
Wow.
After his induction. So
Was the heart attack brought on by years of steroid abuse?
steroid abuse, high blood pressure.
He was on cocaine? You're kidding.
He had
The guy that shook with violence constantly?
genetic cardiovascular issues and passed away. But he died. So where did he go, do you think?
The Ultimate Warrior?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. You read you watched the biography about him. Was he a good guy?
Well, I mean, he had his faults and his vices, but was he repentant at the end of his life? I don't know.
So we talked briefly about Catholicism. We talked about Christianity. But what about some of the other religions of the world, or lack thereof? Let's go 180 from that, right? Let's go towards atheism for a moment. What do atheists think happen when you die?
The lights are off.
That's it.
That's it.
You're just gone. There's nothing else for you.
The lights dim, they go off, and you're done.
Okay.
But-
Which I guess makes some sense.
I bumped the mic.
Makes some sense if you think about it.
I mean, I guess, but as we talked about last week, you're an energetic being,
Yep.
right? So the energy that makes you, your body and your soul and everything else that comprises of you, where does that go?
Well, there's no energy in a soul, right? That's an ethereal thing.
Well, consciousness, people tend to think that there's energy associated with that.
Well, according to the atheist, right, who believes in science more than religion, they think that that's all related to brainwave activity, and it's all created within your brain. And then when you die, your brain impulses stop because there's no more electrical impulse.
Correct.
And it just dissipates, just like electricity would dissipate into the ground. So does you.
Right, but it's still a hard concept to kind of wrap your brain around.
Right.
Right? Like you're conscious one moment and then the next you're not, and then what happens?
That's true.
You know?
Well, okay, but here's a welcome exercise. Now, I've been through many, many, many surgeries in my life, unfortunately, due to a number of injuries and just problems with
You're still recovering from the rectal
with
you
my
had.
life. So I've been put out of consciousness probably more than most people have, and it's the weirdest. You've never had a surgery, have you? Or
Not since I was a youth.
Right, so you don't remember. So it's a very strange feeling because it feels like, you fall asleep instantaneously. When you fall asleep, you can feel yourself falling asleep.
Sure.
And you get all relaxed and you just kind of drift off. It's not like that when you go under anesthesia. You just kind of pop, you're done, right? So I wonder if they think it's just like that because when you're under anesthesia, you don't dream, you don't have any concept of time, you're just not there anymore. And then you wake up and it's over.
Right.
So then I wonder if they think that's what it's like. It's just lights out.
Interesting. I had what I thought was a near-death experience one time. I was...
Well, we're going to talk about NDEs, right? We can talk about it now.
Yeah. Well, no. I mean, we'll get to... I just wanted to touch on something briefly, but I truly felt like I was dying.
Right.
Clearly, I didn't because I'm here today.
What happened?
But I don't know. Something could have happened. I felt like... So as the lights were going out for me... but then I felt my mind wandering, and then it was like I saw like stars. It was like black, and I saw stars, and it was like I was being hurtled through space.
Did you see Brad Pitt?
And time, and things were altered, and it was kind of a strange thing. But anyway, I think we want to talk.
Well, wait a minute.
What?
You can't just say something like that and move on.
Well, why not?
Because that's fantastical. What just happened?
Well, it happened to me.
What? Yeah, but can you explain what happened?
Well, it was a strange time in my life.
Okay.
And I was trying to sleep.
Okay.
And as I told you, I sleep with a machine.
Like Darth Vader.
It's connected to my face, and then the hose goes into
like Bane.
Then the hose goes into my
full
buttocks.
Circle. Ew.
No, I'm kidding. There's no buttocks involved.
You're breathing buttocular air.
But before I was on the machine, I was in a situation where I felt as though I wasn't breathing properly, but I couldn't wake up, and it was just a very, very strange thing.
So you were traveling through the atmospheres?
I was.
Were you conscious of yourself?
I was.
Okay.
But I couldn't move.
But you could see.
I could only see blackness, the blackness of space.
But were you in outer space?
Yes. Oh. Well, I was like hurtling through space.
Like were you going like ass over tea kettle hurtling?
No,
or
just straight on.
Oh.
And like the stars were coming at me.
Okay.
Because
you know how like when you drink too much and you're everything is spinning,
right?
And you have to you feel like you're outside. If you're outside, you have to hold on to the grass to keep from falling off the earth.
Yes.
That.
But then I remember saying to myself, "My God, I'm dying."
Yep.
And then I said, "Well, I don't really want to die at this moment." And then I awoke, but then I was gasping for air at the same time.
Okay.
I was like,
Whoa.
And I woke up, and
that was scary.
Oh man, it was.
Don't
weird.
do that again.
It was so weird. But anyway, I think we're going to get more into death itself.
Yes. We're talking about the concept of death.
The concept of death. What happens after, religiously speaking?
Yes.
And I think we're going to talk a little bit about the actual events that lead up to death.
Yeah. Well, let's stay on the theoretical part for now because we're already there.
Well, we're going to take a break now.
Oh, okay.
And we'll come back here.
We're going to take a halftime break?
We're going to take a halftime break.
Okay, cool.
In just a minute. See you soon.
Like I had a plan. See your face in my mind. No doubt it'll end this time. Drive all night on a country road. Whiskey in my veins turns ice cold. Hard and hard will do the task. Need to see my face, no mask. Jesus and that bottle, they stand behind me full throttle. Not without sin, cast the first stone. You fight back, you'll be the first gone. Bullet left that heated muzzle. Smoking flame left me puzzled.
Welcome back to the Eon Project with Mike and Jay. We're discussing death. We're discussing religious aspects of death. Yep. Scientifically, what happens when you die. We're going to talk about that.
Yep.
What do you got for me right now,
So we're going to do a little bit of a break, as we often do. But before, to signify the break,
yes,
I'm going to open this can of La Croix seltzer. Ready?
Yes. We have all kinds of French beverages here in my home.
Oh, this is nice and refreshing.
In my La Maison.
La Maison.
Because I am a French origin and I speak fluent French. And La Croix in French means the cross. Right?
De la plage means at the beach.
What about fromage?
So I'm going to tell you.
Yes.
A new list came out.
A list.
And I want to get your opinion.
These lists are always wrong.
This is a list of, and it's from a this will be near and dear to your heart. Okay, you ready for this?
Okay.
This is a list that was compiled by Total Guitar.
Oh.
About the top 50 guitar riffs of all time.
Okay.
Okay?
Now, do they define what a riff is?
No. So that's why I want to ask you, because you, as we've talked about famously on the show, I am not a musician. I know next to nothing about music. You are a musician. You play guitar.
Yes.
So what is a riff?
A riff is a series of notes as part of the construct of a song that generally is a hook in terms of the song. Like it's very makes the song identifiable, and it's kind of what the song revolves around.
Okay.
Right? But not necessarily the chord structure, a chord pattern. It's just a series of notes that is identifiable as that song.
So what would be the difference in a riff and a lick?
Same thing.
Oh, it's the same thing.
Yeah, kind of the same thing.
Guitar licks.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't like
similar.
to say lick.
You don't lick. Do you like to lick things?
I say guitar lick.
Are you a licker?
Ew. Licker? I don't even know her. All right. So, if you had to think of the top 50, and I don't, obviously you're not going to mention 50, but let's say you had to think of the top 5 guitar riffs of all time. I want to see if you can name what would be, according to Guitar World, at least one that would be in the top 5.
I can tell you what I would think of as a identifiable riff or lick that is probably not on there, but the band is probably on there.
Okay, who's the band?
So I'm going to say, you know the song Black Dog by Led Zeppelin?
I know Led Zeppelin.
That would be a guitar lick or a riff. That opening diddle-diddle-lit, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
Diddle-diddle-lit.
But that's
How
not
it
on.
goes?
No, I can't do it verbally.
Led Zeppelin is on the list.
But it's probably Stairway to Heaven.
But it is not in the top 5.
Oh. What's the song?
Led Zeppelin, believe it or not, and that's what's a great guess for you. Led Zeppelin is the top guitar riff of all time. They have the top guitar riff of all time.
Which is what?
Can you guess? It is not Stairway to Heaven.
And it's not Black Dog?
It's not Black Dog. Although a Black Dog would be I understand, it's very recognizable.
Yes.
But it is not.
Okay. Well, what is it?
Whole Lot of Love.
Okay. Well,
It's
that
the
makes
number
sense.
one guitar riff of all time,
I can
according
see that.
to Guitar World. This next one would not shock you when I tell you. What do you think number 2 is?
Number 2? Oh, well, I mean, there's so many.
There's so many.
I mean, I don't...
Name an iconic guitar riff. Maybe it'll be on here.
Aerosmith, Sweet Emotion.
Nope, not in the top 10. So, number 2, I'll just go down the list for you. Maybe that'll be easier. Number 2, Crazy Train by Ozzy Osbourne.
Okay, and you know who the guitar player was on that?
It was Randy Rhoads.
It was Randy Rhoads.
And he had sex with Ozzy's wife.
That's a rumor.
I heard it was true.
No, it wasn't true. But he was a young man, amazing guitar virtuoso, died way too young.
What happened to Randy Rhoads?
Aircraft crash.
Okay.
Yes.
Number 3, Back in Black, AC/DC.
Back in Black, that was Angus Young.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Number 4, Smoke on the Water.
Deep Purple. Yes.
Every
Every guitar player learns Deep Smoke on the Water.
They do.
That's an interesting song, story about the origins of that song.
Yes. Well, they say it.
They do, in the
is-
song,
in the
if
song.
you pay attention. Yes.
You know, most people that hear Smoke on the Water, they thought it was related to bongs. You know, because there's smoke that comes over the water on a bong. However, that is not the case.
No, it isn't.
It was an actual fire
On Lake Geneva.
at Lake Geneva.
In Switzerland.
Started by Frank Zappa and the Mothers.
That's right. What a great story.
Anyway, and then number 5 would be, of course, you can't have a top anything guitar without mentioning Eddie Van Halen.
Sure.
So that would be
Eruption?
Ain't Talking About Love.
Oh, okay.
Would be number 5.
Gotcha.
So there's a number of different, ones on here that are interesting. I thought number 8, and this is surprising to me. I'm not going to go down the whole list because I feel like that would be incredibly boring. However, number 8 in this long list of enormously influential and popular bands like the Rolling Stones, Leonard Skinner, Nirvana.
Yes.
All these like top bands. We mentioned Led Zeppelin, Ozzy Osbourne. Guess what number 8 is?
Dan Fogelberg.
No.
Oh.
It's Pantera. Walk.
Oh, yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dimebag was an amazing guitar.
I thought that was really high for them.
You think so?
For that, you don't think so?
No, they had a lot of great songs.
Not the band, that song.
Huh?
It's just like a repeating.
Yeah, I hear you.
Anyway,
I have as a musician, I play guitar.
Yes.
I have no riffs in the top 100 or 1,000.
You don't.
But I do have some that could make the list if they were played by a more famous person. If that makes sense.
Well, you know what? Now would be a good time to mention. We have a lot of projects going on.
Yep. Talk about the projects.
We have a lot of projects that we do here at the Aeon Project. Our parent group is Hermit Light Media, which we didn't mention at the outset, which we should probably mention.
Is a reference to Led Zeppelin.
which is kind of a reference to Led Zeppelin a little bit. But anyway, so Hermit Light has a number of projects underneath of it. One of them is the Eon Project. One of them is from the Black Lodge that we mentioned earlier. We also have a movie project that is actually starting production this week.
Very mysterious.
This week. We'll talk more about it on future episodes. But this week, photography begins, which is very exciting. We have a number of very talented actors and actresses getting ready to thrill everyone with this our first feature-length movie.
It is not pornographic.
It is not porno, much to Brent's chagrin. However, in addition to the movie project, there is a music project. Perhaps you'd like to discuss that a little bit.
Sure. So there's going to be, obviously with any movie, you need a soundtrack, right? And the soundtracks can make or break a movie, if in my opinion.
Absolutely.
As a matter of fact, I saw a movie recently where the movie was absolutely terrible. It was atrocious, but the soundtrack was extraordinary.
What was the movie?
Army of the Dead.
We discussed it last week.
It was a terrible movie, but the
horrible.
soundtrack was great. And had a lot of good songs and some different alternate versions of songs. Mm-hmm. So I think it's important to have good music to go along with the movie itself. So there will be a soundtrack associated with this. There will be some original songs that are going to be comprised by people associated with Hermit Light Media, in addition to some cover songs.
Yep.
So it's going to run the full gamut.
Okay.
In addition to that, one of the other groups associated with Hermit Light, which is a musical act that Brent is associated with, and myself as well, is called the Red Queen Project. And they have an EP coming out soon. Do you know what an EP is?
I'd be lying to you if I told you that I knew what that meant.
EP it stands for extended play.
Oh, is that okay? So what does that mean?
It's a certain amount of songs.
Oh.
It's not as much as a LP.
An LP is like an album.
LP is long play, which is a long form album essentially.
Okay. I learned something today.
But yeah, so they're we would like to promote them as well. So they're doing some good work out there in the Midwest. They're going to be involved with the movie as well, coming up with some songs and things of that sort.
So we got Red Queen Project. We have our movie production. We have the Eon Project. We have From the Black Lodge. And what else we got?
Oh, you name it.
There's a lot of things going on. It seems like every day is something new. And all of this happening under the giantly wide planks of the palatial Eon Project Studios.
That's correct.
That we discussed last week. So anyway, to jump back into the show.
Let's do it.
We're discussing death. And to this point, we've been discussing the religious aspects of death as far as what different religions believe happens to you. And we've been kind of focusing on Western religions, Catholicism and Christianity. But what about, we also mentioned atheism, but what about the Eastern religions like Buddhism or Confucianism, Taoism, some things of that sort? What do you think those religions think happens when someone dies?
I don't really know, to be quite honest.
Well, according to many of the Eastern religions, including Buddhism, which I had mentioned before. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they believe in reincarnation, as do different Indian religions. The country India, not American. Indians,
Native Americans,
I should say, and they believe in reincarnation, and to that end, they believe that you are brought back as another human spirit after you die. And the goal is not to just keep living lives, but to be living better lives. So each time you come back and you try to learn and get a little bit better. And then ultimately, if you can continue down this path, you achieve what's called nirvana, which means you don't come back. When you die, then you just go wherever you go.
And they had some good riffs too back in the 90s.
Nirvana.
They did.
Yeah.
So it's funny because, and this is where...
Can I stop you for a minute?
Oh, sure.
Was it, and this is, you know how like these things come across on your social media or whatever?
Yeah.
And you don't know if they're true. Was it true that there was a guitar player or one of the band members, the original band members of Nirvana, that actually became a Green Beret Special Forces guy?
Not Nirvana.
Who was that? There was some musician that gave up everything and became a Special Forces guy. I'll have to find it.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'll have to find it.
There's been a few football players. I know.
No, it wasn't. It was obviously, Pat. Everybody knows Pat Tillman, and there's been some other folks, but this one was he became like a ultra high speed.
No, I think that was one of those urban legends because Nirvana did have drummers before Dave Grohl, and the famous opening or the famous drum lick, if you want to talk licks again, in Bloom, the famous Nirvana song, do, 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 where he goes across the tom drums.
Oh,
you know what I'm
yeah.
talking about? That was not Dave Grohl that came up with that. Came up with that drum fill.
Oh.
That was one of their original drummers, which his name escapes me at this moment. But getting back to reincarnation,
Yes.
and this is why I think the way I look at the world is a little bit different than most people. So I like to intertwine different aspects of things and the things that
You like the cafeteria pick.
I do. I like to be able to just go out there and like the buffet and pick and choose.
You know what
I
I
like.
was very happy to learn, speaking of buffets? That, with COVID, there were no buffets. All the buffets shut down.
Oh.
Well, I have recently learned that the buffets are coming back. And just in time for my family vacation to Florida. Which, there's buffets every 2 feet in
Oh,
Florida.
I love the buffet.
Anyway, go ahead.
But anyway, so I like, or I find interesting and quite compelling the belief or the theory of reincarnation.
Yes, me too.
I know we've kind of talked about this before a little bit on the program, but I don't know why. I just do, and I know there's a lot of interesting, compelling cases out there.
Well, yeah, I was just about
for
to say
reincarnation,
because there's been documented cases where people have remembered things that they didn't experience. There was a little girl that was able to tell all about this something that happened with another guy in another country that she would have no way of knowing, something along those lines. There's been a number of cases like that.
Yeah, I mean, there was a famous case of a young boy, 3 or 4 years old, who very, very descriptively talked about his time as a fighter pilot in World War II, and he was able to describe the aircraft and the name of it, and it all turned out to be real and true. Huh. So there's actually a lot of cases like that.
So what do you attribute that?
Reincarnation.
I mean,
No, I don't know.
That's what you must have to.
No, I mean, it may just be coincidence. It may be maybe the kid just.
Well, I can tell you why it's appealing to you.
Why is that?
Because it's a way of continuing to live on, and it's not in another dimension. It's in this one. So you go, oh great, I get to come back. Maybe next time I'll be a hot chick from Beverly Hills.
Oh, I'd love to be a hot chick.
Or next time I'll be
I'd love to be a hot man,
an NBA player, or you'll be completely different. I wonder if reincarnation is indeed true, you must have to come back as something completely different from what you are.
I would think.
You'd be like an Aboriginal farmer or something like that.
Is it wrong that I find WNBA women attractive?
Yes, that is wrong.
Really? Oh,
WNBA.
Okay. WNBA, not the NBA.
No, WNBA.
Yeah.
No, that's not good.
That's not cool?
No.
Oh, okay.
Although I will mention that the Women's College Softball World Series is this week, if you are looking to have some good viewing.
Expand your horizons.
Expand your horizons.
So what happens when you die, though? Like physically?
Physically.
What do you think happens? So let's say I go up to you right now.
Not spiritually.
No. No, let's talk a little more scientific here for now.
Okay.
Let's say if I go up to you right now.
What say you?
And I either come behind you.
Ooh, all right.
And I grab you around the neck.
Woohoo.
And I proceed to strangle you. And I squeezing the life out of you.
First I would cry.
And I'm lathered in Crisco.
Ew.
No, I'm kidding. That last part. But no, seriously, like I'm strangling the life out of you.
Yep.
And you clearly are losing consciousness at some point, right?
Yes.
What's happening in those moments, you think?
Physically?
Yes.
So your brain stops. Okay, so if you're strangling me, then you're restricting blood flow and oxygen, therefore oxygen to the brain.
Correct.
Right. So within seconds, you should go unconscious. Mm-hmm. Not long. People are like, it takes a really long time.
No, it doesn't take long.
Doesn't. Not if you're doing it right. Like it just takes a few seconds. And this is an embarrassing story that I'm going to tell you that I don't know that I ever told anybody.
Did you have a belt around your neck?
No.
Okay.
No, but this is an embarrassing story that I'll tell you. So many years ago, and you know this person. Many years ago, I was having a discussion with somebody of the female variety. And she said, I could get you in a headlock and you couldn't get out of it. And I said, bull crap. I'm a United States Marine. I'll get out of anything you put on me.
Oh.
This girl put a headlock on me.
And a corset.
No, she put a headlock on me of vice grip strength. And I started to go out.
Was she a qualified MMA fighter?
No, she got lucky, I think. she happened to put her arm in the right place. And I was starting to go out. I started to see white all around.
Yes.
And I started to go down. And I started to panic because I could not get out of it. I reached up and I grabbed the back of her head. And I yanked real hard and I pushed her into the wall. and I got out of it.
Well, that's what you have to do that though.
I know, but so I can tell you what happens when you're being strangled because that happened to me.
Well, let me ask you this. I have a little experience in this.
Ooh.
I've been choked out a few times myself.
Oh, all right.
And I've had different implements
Did you have
inserted
to pay? Did you have to pay her extra for that? Or?
No, I'm kidding. Oh. What kind of maneuver did she have you in? Was she?
It was just
were
a
you
side
standing
headlock.
up?
We were both standing
side
up.
headlock.
Yes.
Okay.
She had
a blood choke on you
had-
then, not an airway choke.
Well, I don't know.
You could breathe, but you were losing consciousness.
Yes, I was losing
Okay,
consciousness.
so you're just cutting off your blood
Yes.
blood supply.
Yes.
Because there's two different types of
Okay,
chokes.
well, whatever it was working.
But the blood choke, the blood choke is the one that will get you a lot quicker.
Oh.
Because you can hold your breath for a
Sure,
long time,
sure,
but if you're
sure.
cutting off the blood supply,
Yeah, no, that's like it was. I could not do anything. Like
Yes.
I was about to go out.
yeah.
Yeah.
And what happens is if she doesn't let's say you did go
Yeah.
out, and if she doesn't let go,
could
then
die.
you'll die.
Right.
But if she lets go, within seconds you'll come back to
Very,
reality.
very embarrassed.
You were like, you were right. You got me.
She got me. Anyway.
Yeah, so I mean, I personally think it's hard to say. I look at it like, you have people that have these near-death experiences, right?
Yep.
And they tell their stories and they're very convincing. Oh, I saw light and I
Yeah.
saw angels coming down and all this. That's just, I think that's just your brain reacting, like you said, to the lack of oxygen, right?
Right.
Your brain is slowly diminishing of oxygen, so you're going to start seeing strange things that are happening.
Okay, so let me tell you.
sure.
So what you're describing, the classical near-death experience. You see the tunnel of light, and you see all this. You see relatives that you knew and all this stuff. Which but one of the selling points that people have about NDEs about it being real is they say, well, it's a common experience that people have. This has happened to tens and hundreds of thousands of people all over the world, and they all say the same thing. Well, my counter to that, sir, would be the same phenomenon happens with UFOs. Mm-hmm. What happened when UFOs first came out was everybody saw the same kind of UFO. It was that pie plate shaped metallic UFO, right? Everybody saw that one.
Power of suggestion.
Right, and then years later it was a different type of UFO, and then everybody started seeing that one,
right?
Because that's what people think that they're supposed to see.
So what you're saying is, in a nutshell, is if you had a lot of people that had these near-death experiences come out and said that they
saw Elvis.
Yeah, or they flew underneath a waterfall of Twizzlers.
You would
like,
start hearing that.
Oh my God, there's Twizzlers in heaven.
You would start hearing that over, which I hope there are, because I like.
Awesome.
Do you like Twizzlers?
I love Twizzlers.
Do you make a straw out of the Twizzler to drink a beverage?
I've done the straw.
Yes.
I've also tied them in knots.
Ooh.
I've created garrots out of them.
I've made my wife whip me with them.
I've eaten my way free.
She's tied me up with Twizzlers.
Yes.
It's been great.
What's your favorite candy, would you say?
Oh, that's a great question.
Do you like more fruity candies or chocolatey candies?
It depends on the mood. I do enjoy a good, like a chocolate-covered pretzel flavor.
Really?
Yeah, you don't like chocolate-covered pretzels?
Well, I do, but that's not like something I would go to. That's
I don't. Not like all the time. Like every once in a while. You know what I like? You know what I enjoy for movies? Watching movies is beef jerky. I could sit there and eat a whole 2-pound thing of beef jerky.
You don't. Beef jerky is not very cost effective.
It's very expensive.
It's very expensive for about an ounce, and you get one little piece.
What's your favorite candy?
So I'm a fruity guy.
I knew that.
I like.
Yeah.
I'm a fruit.
Yes.
So I enjoy like the original Skittles.
Oh yeah, Skittles. Yeah, but they hurt your jaw after a while.
I love it.
Much
I love
like,
it. It's a jaw workout.
Lovin'.
Like Jawzercise.
Yeah.
Like I said, the Twizzler is good.
Yep.
Starburst, original Starburst.
You can sit there and eat Starburst.
Yes.
Yeah, but you got to open each individual pack.
Oh, I love it.
It's annoying.
But here's an old school. I don't even know if they make these anymore. Candy that my old man used to buy because my dad had a. I hate to say this because he's gonna kill me.
Does he listen to the show?
He's still alive.
Oh.
He has a false upper lip. Not
What?
Not upper lip. False teeth on
He has
top.
a false palate.
False teeth.
False upper lip. That would be cool.
On top, so he couldn't eat a lot of candy as a kid. Like anything chewy, his teeth would
What
come
happened to his
flying
teeth?
out. Well, he lost them. He got them punched out of his mouth in Vietnam.
Oh, I was gonna say he probably pissed somebody off. Well, he lost them in Vietnam.
That's partially true and partially not.
He's
true.
afforded some leeway.
That's another story for another day. But anyway, so he used to get. This is the kind of candy he would get, and he would always share them with the children. Mm-hmm. It was like a cylindrical package, and I'm making like a.
You like your food in cylindrical.
Like
you have to stop doing that.
I'm making a phallic move.
Becoming aroused.
Necco wafers.
Ew.
You ever had a Necco wafer?
They taste like cardboard.
Oh, I love them, and they were all different
gross.
flavors.
My kids like Necco.
And
wafers.
and they looked like the Eucharist.
They did.
It was like a disc-shaped
Yes.
candy.
Speaking of the Eucharist,
So yummy.
did I mention last week that I was an
Root
altar
beer was
boy?
my favorite,
I think I mentioned I was an altar boy.
and you were violated.
No, I was not. However, the thing that made me laugh, I used to laugh at church during church service because many people don't know this. At
Yeah.
the end of a Catholic service, they consecrate the Eucharist, right? I don't know if they still do this, but when I was an altar boy back in the day, they used to do this. They consecrate the Eucharist. It becomes the body of Christ. They hand it out to everybody.
Yep.
Do you know what they do with it? The leftovers?
Well, they make a little soup, and the priest
They
drinks
eat
it.
them.
They drink it.
Yeah, no, he eats them all. So, like,
Yeah.
he would gather up and he'd go, and he'd open his mouth wide and he would shove
Well,
all of the Eucharists into his mouth at the same time.
After he cleaned out the
Yes.
Eucharist chalice, he would
would
pour
eat-
a little wine in there, and he would swish it around.
That too, but he would eat all the remaining. So I would laugh because he was sitting there going,
Yeah.
and he was like he was eating a Nathan's hot dog eating contest. But anyway, that's a story for another day.
Another day.
So what were we talking about?
We're talking about what actually happens scientifically.
happens when you die.
When
Okay.
you die.
So your analogy was when you're being strangled or you're
Well, I was
losing
trying to
you're losing
figure it out.
consciousness.
Yeah. So the things that you're seeing,
Right.
when the the light is coming toward you and things of that sort, is that just a physiological response that your body is having
It sounds like it.
to dying,
It sounds like it does.
and not a supernatural event?
Well, yeah, because like I said, because everyone expects to see that. If you expected to see, what's that actor's name with the big eyebrows, the old guy.
Abe Vigoda.
No, you see Abe Vigoda coming at you.
Okay.
Ernest Borgnine. Thank you. I was
Bert
thinking
Borgnine.
Ernest Borgnine.
That kind of the same.
Ernest Borgnine was a scary looking dude. He was like, he just had this big giant head.
Yeah, McHale's Navy. He was in.
He was a scary guy.
Anyway, so I don't know. I mean, you get that. Obviously your body is a physical being, right? So you're going to
Yes.
have a physiological response to anything.
Yes.
If you
Sure.
if you
Lack of oxygen or whatever the case may be.
I mean, if you cook Necco wafers in a spoon and inject it, you're going to have a reaction to it.
that
So
sounds
when
like a
you're
plan.
when you're dying, your body is going to have some sort of physiological response to the lack of oxygen,
Uh-huh.
lack of blood flow, all of that stuff, right? So it's hard to differentiate what these people are experiencing, whether it's supernatural or physiological.
Okay.
But there has to be a point where that barrier is crossed, right?
Yes.
Between
The threshold.
physical and what happens when the energy is released from your body.
Well, okay, so thinking in those veins, in those veins, months ago, we talked about astral projection,
Astral travel.
astral travel, where people theoretically their consciousness leaves their body and can still see and hear and feel and touch and everything, but they're flying through the ether,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Wouldn't that be what would traditionally think that people have? Your consciousness is gone. It's moving on to the next phase
Yes.
or whatever that may be.
Yeah, and people do report that, and they also
Right.
report, like, if let's say somebody's on an operating table, they report
Yes.
seeing their body over the table, and they can see what's going on in the
Yes.
room from above.
Yes.
And then they suddenly snap back into their body.
Yes.
Kind of a thing. I mean,
Yes.
that could just be another.
Did you see the first Insidious movie? Remember that movie, Insidious?
What's that one about?
That's the one where the kid goes into a coma and
There's like things coming out of the closet and stuff. Is that one?
no, the kid goes into a coma and then there's this demon guy that's keeping him. Anyway, that's not the point. The point of me telling you a story is he was an astral traveler.
Oh.
And every night his consciousness would leave his body and he would go into which they called the other, which was this other other dimension. But he went too far and wasn't able to find his way back. And that's what
see.
would concern me. Because initially what I would like to do would be to travel into like the girls' locker room at the gym, maybe down to the local the Rhode Island Dolls establishment, see what's happening down there. But I feel like I would go too far and not be able to get back.
I went too far one time into West Virginia. It's tough to find your way out of there. It's a tough
bet.
place to be.
Sure.
You ever been there?
West Virginia? No, I've never been to West
Ah,
Virginia.
Mountain Mama. It's a tough place, but it's nice. It's beautiful. It's God's country. It's very mountainous, and you can get lost easily there.
What were you doing in West Virginia?
West Virginia was Wheeling. West Virginia was the halfway point between Quantico, Virginia, and Bluffton, Indiana. When I was on active duty, and I used to drive back and forth that
Did you
way
say
a
Wheeling,
lot.
West Virginia?
Yeah.
There's an old Billy Joel song called "The Ballad of Billy the Kid," which is a historical account of Billy the Kid and how he started and got his name. The interesting thing about that song is that every fact that he says is completely wrong. Every single fact
Doesn't
that
matter.
he says
It's a
is
song.
wrong. Yes, but the reason I mentioned he says because he came from Wheeling, West Virginia, which is not true. Billy the Kid was not born in Wheeling. I think he was born in New Mexico someplace.
You know, Young Guns was on the other day.
Good movie.
Great
Good movie.
Great movie. Speaking of great movies, I created my own movie last week. So I
What was her name?
Georgette.
Georgette Babette.
So I don't. I've always been into sports. I like to play sports. As a youth, I played many sports.
You weren't good at any of them.
I wasn't good, but I enjoyed doing it.
Yes.
And then I played golf a few times. Now I only play like once a year. I play golf once a year.
Okay.
Because it requires a fat ass and a goofy pants.
The senior PGA Tour. Is what you're
And
playing?
I do it because it's a charitable event, and it's a fun day. Okay.
So you drink a lot and drive carts around.
Yes, I'm not allowed to drive carts anymore because I rolled one a few years back, so I'm not allowed to drive anymore.
Okay.
So I went about my day and I played golf, and I didn't play well, but I was fine. And I left the golf course, and you know what I decided to do on the way home?
No.
Stop at the local hardware store
Okay.
and buy a toilet.
What?
A toilet.
Why would you decide to buy a toilet?
Because I wanted to replace my toilet.
Yeah, but you decided to do that on the way home from the golf tournament?
It just seemed like a good idea
At the time.
at that time because I had been putting it off.
Ah.
So I bought a toilet, and I argued about the price of the toilet.
Of course you did, because you're a cheap bastard.
And I brought it home, and after some cocktails, I installed a toilet.
I bet it... Did it leak?
Nope.
No?
Oh, it went in perfect.
Wow.
I don't know how
That's
I
what
did
she
it.
said. You know, I had to install a toilet tank once,
Yeah.
and I neglected to put the gasket on.
Oh, between the bowl and the tank. Oh, that's a big problem.
When I flushed it, all the water came
went
flying
down.
out.
Yes. That's a key component to the
The key
toilet.
component is the gasket. Yes. Don't forget the gasket.
Don't forget the ass gasket.
No.
All right.
So we were talking about near-death experiences. We were talking about death in itself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this strikes me as an interesting experiment that some guy did years ago. He actually weighed a person. Did you see this?
I did.
He weighed a person at the time of their death.
Yes.
And he was able to quantify that the human soul weighed something.
Yes.
And I forget what the actual weight.
I was a few ounces, I think.
So, I don't think it was that much. I think it was like hundredths of an ounce.
Oh, really?
Yes, it was something very, very, very slight. But he weighed somebody before they died, and he weighed them as they died, and they weighed less. So how do you explain that one?
Interesting. Well, I mean, that could be, that could be attributed to a bunch of things. Bowel movement. Because a lot of people, when they pass on,
I think that they would have noticed if
the bowels
if
release.
poop were coming out of the butt.
The bowels do release. I've seen that happen on a number of occasions.
Ew.
And,
Is that true? When people die, they poop themselves?
Well, it depends on the situation, but it does.
You know, I've seen dead bodies, and I don't remember lots of poop flowing around.
No.
No. What are you doing?
Well,
What the hell are you doing?
what are you talking about?
What are you doing? You can't be bothered to put your phone down to record a show?
It vibrated, and I was trying to turn it off because I don't enjoy vibrations.
I saw you.
Do you like vibrations?
You were trying to communicate with somebody.
I was.
Are you being held against your will?
I am. No, but you were talking about the experiment that the gentleman did with the weighing the soul.
Yes.
Do you remember? And I think it would have been late '80s, early '90s. It was a movie. It had Kiefer Sutherland in it and Julia Roberts.
Flatliners.
Yes. I was going to ask you if you remember the name of it.
I remember Flatliners.
Where they did experiments about near-death experiences, where they would induce...
actually killed somebody.
Yes, they would induce death
Yes.
to try to bring the person back to see what would happen.
For the life of me, I couldn't tell you what the movie was about. Other than
I just told you.
No, I know, but I don't remember like the plot lines or...
No, it wasn't good.
Any of that.
It wasn't good. But they did get to open Julia Roberts' shirt.
I don't like Julia Roberts.
To
She never was
defibrillate
good looking. Never.
You never liked her?
No. She always had this face like a baboon's ass.
Oh.
It's gross.
You don't like baboon asses?
No, not particularly.
Okay, let's wrap it up then.
Yeah, we've been kind of... This show's kind of been all over the map. But
We like that, though. It's fun.
We've been trying to talk about
We're like
death.
the Magellan of podcasts.
Yes, we are like the Amerigo Vespucci of podcasts. So we've been talking about death in its various forms, what happens to you when you die, and maybe we close out with in a very, very, very short nutshell, small nutshell. What do you think happens when you die?
Well, before you do that, let me ask you this:
Uh-oh.
How about your favorite pet?
My favorite pet.
Where do they go?
They don't go anywhere.
They just die?
I don't think pets have a soul. That's just me.
Well, see, here's the thing, though. Like, here's where you and I disagree.
I like pets.
I don't
I like
think you
pets
need
a
to
lot.
have, quote unquote, a soul.
Okay.
I think when you die, as we stated before, your energy goes somewhere. It goes into some sort of other realm.
Yeah, but
And I think your pets are.
okay. But what about
contained
the
within
ant
that.
that you just stepped on, or the?
It does, but to a lesser degree.
What do you mean?
Well, an ant doesn't have the same amount of energy that would.
What about-
say, like a 500-pound?
What about a
gorilla would have.
Tyrannosaurus Rex? Is that hanging around for you in the afterlife
Somewhere.
too?
Yeah, somewhere.
Nah, I think we disagree. On
I
that.
just pumped them into my gas tank.
I love pets, but I don't think they go with you.
I don't think they go with you personally.
They go to dog heaven or cat heaven or lizard heaven.
Yeah, they go into whatever space that they need to go into because they have a different consciousness than we do.
So what do you think happens when somebody dies?
How many times do I have to say this?
You never said it. You
No,
go,
the
consciousness. you didn't say where it goes.
Your physical body dies.
Yes. Where does it go?
Your energy that makes up your consciousness and your body
Yes.
goes into another realm.
That's not answering the question.
I don't know the
You're
realm.
trying to get around it
if
by
I
not
knew
answering
the answer to the
question.
freaking realm question, I would know everything.
See? You don't know.
I don't know.
You're like a politician. You're
And
trying
you know
to
what?
not answer the question.
And that just accentuates the point. Nobody knows.
Well, it is true that nobody really knows because nobody's actually experienced it and then come back. Well,
Correct.
if you listen to some people that say that they've been to heaven
No.
for 3 hours or they went to hell for 20 minutes, which I've been to hell for like 3 hours. It was called the DMV. And, you just sit around. And those employees there, they treat you with such disdain. And they don't like you. And they don't like their job. And they don't like anybody. It's wonderful. Why do they even have that anymore? Why is the DMV a thing? Why does it have to be a
It
thing?
shouldn't be a thing.
No. They can do everything online. Who does not have access to online services?
You can do anything online.
You can go to the local library and borrow a newspaper and go poop, and then go to the shared computers and register your car.
I can buy a bag of snap peas online and have it delivered later on in the day.
Yes, but you can't register your car online, or you can't get
do
a
it.
driver's license or
It's
any
all
of that.
control. The man
You got to
want
stand in
control
front
you.
of that jackass civil servant that doesn't want to be there.
All right, how do people get a hold of us if they want to?
If you want to get a hold of us, if you have questions, comments, concerns, you want to talk about the show, you want to say that you love Jay, you want to marry him, it's
Send
too
us
late,
death
he's already
threats.
married. See, the dogs want to even talk to us.
Exactly. They're all talking.
So you want to go to theguys@hermitlight.com. That's theguys@hermitlight.com. Send a message. You can also go to hermitlight.com and check out our various offerings that we have. Check out our friends Brent and Luke from the Black Lodge and their weekly podcast, which is also fun to listen to.
And stay tuned for the trailer. There's a trailer coming
We're
out.
shooting the trailer for our movie, which is heretofore untitled. We do have a title, but I'm not sharing it today.
Don't share it. What's the working title? Is there one?
It's a horror movie, but it's a horror movie in the vein of such that there hasn't been one. It's delving into areas that haven't been touched by human hands. So it's going to be interesting.
It's called The Revenge of Pablo Picasso.
You know the best part of the movie so far?
What's that?
I'm not in it, and neither are you.
Well, that's too bad. We should be.
Maybe we will. I think we will. I just said that as a joke. We will.
All right.
We will be in it.
All right. Until next time, just remember, the truth exists. E believe it.